So, tell us, in your view and experience, what is the value of open source for Europe?
I think the economic value of open source is enormous and is often underappreciated. The open source sector contributes at least 65 million euros to EU GDP. But beyond that, I think open source also has a huge societal value. Most people who start to study computer science, for example, or become software developers, they often start in an open source project. And it's kind of learning by doing and having this positive experience of creating something together that motivates a lot of people.
So, now we've seen the launch of the European Open Source Academy. We've seen the launch of the awards with the first laureates being appointed. So, what are your thoughts on the establishment of this, this recognition framework and awards, at the European level for European open source?
I think the open source awards are a great sign for how open source has become much more valued in the European political context. When I first came to Brussels, there was no real recognition for open source. You certainly didn't have events like the Open Source Awards. And I think it's really going to motivate the people who have been working in the public service, essentially, to keep doing that and to be recognized for the great work that they're doing for all of us.
Good. So, the awards, of course, they're as much a showcase of European advancements in open source as much as they're also a celebration of European expertise. But in your opinion, what are actually the unique aspects that separate European open source contributions from the rest?
Even though open source is a global practice, like anyone in the world can collaborate with anyone else, it is really remarkable that the EU is leading in open source contributions. For example, on GitHub, the EU has more open source contributions than the US has. So there is clearly a large community of open source developers and maintainers here in Europe. And I think it's great to see that the EU institutions are also starting to value that and seeing it as a competitive advantage in a way.
Excellent. So, perhaps drawing from your current activities, or you're in the community, very much present. Are there any EU-led, EU-funded initiatives that you think the European open source community should pay attention to or follow?
I'm a huge fan of the Sovereign Tech Agency in Germany, which is a public sector funded instrument to support the maintenance of open source. So I think that's great, and it's a model that other European countries and the EU should follow. I'm also a big fan of open source projects that are coming out of Europe. So for example, Mastodon as a public decentralized social media infrastructure is being developed in Europe, and I think it shows that there is a lot of creativity and innovation coming out of the open source space.
Okay, now, if you could reach out to the European open source community of developers, companies, actors, etc., if there's something that you could say to them, what would this be?
I want to say thank you, first of all, to all open source maintainers and developers, because I truly believe that they are doing a public service. And I hope that you know that we see you and that we value and recognize the contributions that you're making.
Okay, before we end, is there anything else you would like to add or mention, or anything else?
I'm really glad that the Open Source Awards exist now. It's long overdue, and I'm very happy with the choice of laureates. They've really contributed to the field of open source for a long time, and congratulate them on that.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Excellent.